Hi everyone, it's Dr. LeBlanc with Unit 12, Mitochondria and Chloroplasts and Extranuclear Inheritance. Our learning goals are to understand that some organelles in eukaryotic cells, contain their own DNA, to understand the endosymbiont theory of evolution of organelles, to understand the organization and genetic content of organelle genomes, to understand the pattern of inheritance of mitochondria, and to understand the inheritance patterns of chloroplasts in plants and its consequences for, for leaf pigmentation. The endosymbiosis theory states that a long time ago in a galaxy a long time ago on planet Earth, primordial eukaryotic cells that contained a nucleus engulfed or took up purple bacterium, and the purple bacterium stayed around inside the cells. It provided energy for the eukaryotic cells, a lot of energy, and it also, for itself, got a nice new home and some protection. Cyanobacterium also took up residence in some primordial eukaryotic cell and provided the cell with its own food source because these bacteria could undergo photosynthesis. So, a few 100 million years after that, plant cells evolved with chloroplasts and mitochondria, and animal cells and fungi ended up with the mitochondria. Eukaryotic cells were unable to undergo photosynthesis and to synthesize a lot more ATP, and the bacteria cells gained a more stable environment and access to nutrients. Chloroplasts and mitochondria have a circular, double-stranded DNA chromosome, and those chromosomes are organized in nucleoids, very similar to what we learned about circular chromosomes found in bacteria. This is a chloroplast, and it's got two nucleoids in it that are visible, and here's a mitochondria with a single nucleoid right in the middle. The genetic composition of chloroplasts in different species has a quite broad range. In Chlamydomonas, which is a single-celled organism with a flagella, it has approximately 5 to 6 nucleoids per chloroplast, with about 80 chromosomes per organelle altogether. Euglena, which is also a single-celled flagellate, has quite a bit more. It has about 20 to 34 nucleoids per chloroplast with about 100 to 300 different chromosomes. Mitochondria in Tetrahymena, which is also a protozoan, has only one nucleoid per organelle with about 6 to 8 different chromosomes per organelle. And the mouse mitochondrion has about 1 to 3 nucleoids per organelle and just 5 to 6 total number of chromosomes per organelle. Now, the pattern of inheritance of organelles varies amongst the animal and plant kingdom, but for mammals, the mitochondrial inheritance is maternal. So below here we have a picture of a diagram of an egg. It has already undergone meiosis 1. It has a polar body right here. And it's getting ready to undergo a second meiotic division. In the cytoplasm here are little pink mitochondria. They're pink because this is the egg. After all, this is the female parent. So the mitochondria are pink. And the mitochondria are numerous in the egg cytoplasm because the egg cytoplasm has to sustain the embryo through the first several divisions before it can receive any nutrients from an outside source. So in mammals, the female gamete is very large, which provides most of the cytoplasm for the zygote. The male gamete, on the other hand, is quite small and provides little more than a nucleus. So here's a diagram of a sperm. The nucleus up here is here, and the tail, and it has a very large specialized mitochondria that surrounds the tail near the head region in what's called the neck of the sperm. This mitochondria, however, does not enter the egg. During fertilization, the only thing that enters the egg from the sperm cell is the nucleus and a pair of centrioles. This is the chloroplast genome for tobacco plant. And you can notice that, first of all, it is a circular chromosome, and it has lots and lots of open reading frames encoded on the chromosome. Many of these are polypeptides with unknown functions. The mitochondrial genome has many genes as well. It has highlighted on this annotation all the tRNA genes, many different tRNA genes on the genome. It also has some other very important genes for proteins, ribosomal RNA genes, transfer RNA genes, and then genes for enzymes, proteins, NADH, hydrogenase subunits, cytochrome B genes, cytochrome C oxidase subunits, ATP synthase, and some other DNA that's non-coding. There are many different human diseases that have been mapped to genes on the mitochondrial chromosome. An example is Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, or LON. It affects the optic nerve, and it can lead to progressive loss of vision in one or both eyes. It's caused by mutations in several different mitochondrial genes, such as ND1, ND2, all of these different genes. They're all respiratory chain proteins, and if you have mutations in any one of those within the mitochondrial genome, you will end up with LON disease. Another mitochondrial disease is causes neurogenic muscle weakness, and it's a mutation in the ATPase6 gene, which encodes just one subunit for the mitochondrial ATP synthase. There's also several mutations in tRNA genes. How are chloroplasts and mitochondria transmitted from a fertilized egg or an embryo or a zygote to the daughter cells or the offspring? Well, for chloroplasts, in Chlamydomonas, it's inherited from the parent with the MT plus mating type. But in plants, and angiosperms and gymnosperms have a slightly different variety. Angiosperms have chloroplasts that are often maternal in inheritance. What about mitochondria? In mammals, mitochondria is also maternally inherited, and so it is in angiosperms. So both angiosperms often have maternal inheritance of both mitochondria and chloroplasts. What do you notice about this disease inheritance pattern? Well, it affects both males and females, but I don't see any male parent passing it on. This is a disease for a mitochondrial disease. This is a pedigree for a mitochondrial disease. And since mitochondria are inherited only from the egg, what you'll notice in this pedigree is that only mothers are transmitting this disease to their offspring. Here's a mother that's transmitted the disease to all of her children. Here's a mother that's transmitted to both. Here's a mother that's transmitted it to both. Here is a father that hasn't transmitted anything. What about maternal inheritance in the 4-o'clock plant? And we said that in angiosperms, flowering plants, chloroplast inheritance and mitochondrial inheritance is from the maternal parent. So if we cross a female variegated plant, a female white plant to a green male plant, what do we get? We get all white offspring just like the mother. And if we do the reciprocal cross and we cross a green female plant with a male white plant, we get all green offspring just like the mother. If we do a test cross with a variegated female plant and a green plant, we end up with offspring that could be green, white, or variegated. And if we do the reciprocal of this, where our female plant is all green and our male plant is variegated, we get only green offspring. So, chloroplasts and the phenotype, the green phenotype is the wild type phenotype. It has normal chloroplasts making normal green pigment. The white phenotype, however, is caused by a mutation in the chloroplasts. The mutation causes the chloroplast to be insufficient in the synthesis of green pigment. There's no green pigment in their chloroplast. Variegated phenotype is caused by a mixture of wild type and mutant chloroplasts into one cell. That condition is called heteroplasmy, and if the cytoplasm that goes into one cell has a good chloroplast, then all the cells that are derived from that one cell will be green. And if a cell inherits only chloroplasts that cannot make pigment anymore, it will have white chloroplasts, and all of the cells that are derived from that in the end will also have white phenotype, no chloroplasts. Well, what about a variegated phenotype? A mix of wild type and mutant chloroplasts in one cell, or heteroplasmy, leads to this phenotype. Let's take a closer look. In variegated plants, chloroplasts are randomly distributed from the egg to the daughter cells. So if you have an egg that has good chloroplasts and white chloroplasts, then if you inherit only white chloroplasts, then you will be white. All of your descendants will also be white. If you inherit only green chloroplasts or green chloroplasts and white chloroplasts, then you will be green. Okay, this condition where you end up with green plus white chloroplasts in one cell is called heteroplasmy. But it's important to remember that the chloroplasts are inherited through the female parent for angiosperms. Chloroplasts and mitochondria are eukaryotic cellular organelles that contain their own DNA in the form of a circular chromosome. The genes contained on these chromosomes encode proteins and RNA that function exclusively within the organelle. Many other proteins that function in these organelles are encoded in the nuclear genome. The endosymbiont theory states that chloroplasts and mitochondria evolved from the inclusion of prokaryotic cyanobacterium and purple bacterium, respectively, into primordial germ eukaryotic cells. The genomes of chloroplasts and mitochondria resemble those of prokaryotic cells in both structure and codon usage. In mammals, mitochondria are inherited exclusively from the maternal parent, and pedigrees show this unique pattern of inheritance. In angiosperms, flowering plants, chloroplasts and mitochondria are also passed down through the maternal parent. Variegation in plant leaf pigmentation is a consequence of heteroplasmy, where chloroplasts with different mutations are randomly passed down from the egg to daughter cells.